Why nobody teaches you how money works. Every finance video on this platform starts with the same sentence. They don't teach you this in school. It's the safest line in the genre, nobody disagrees, nobody clicks away offended, and it lets the video move on without ever answering the question it just raised. So let's not do that. Let's actually answer it, and it's not the answer you're expecting. Here's the surface version, and it's true as far as it goes. Most schools spend 12 plus years on algebra, essay structure, and the boiling point of things you'll never boil, and roughly 0 hours on how a credit score is calculated, or what APR even stands for. That part is real. But they didn't teach me is a strange place to stop thinking, because it assumes the fix is obvious, just teach it. And once someone explains compound interest, people will start saving. So, did that experiment ever actually get run? It did. Multiple countries have introduced mandatory personal finance classes, and researchers tracked what happened next. In 2014, 3 researchers did something bigger than any single study. They pulled together 201 separate studies on financial education, covering 168 papers, and asked one question: does teaching people about money actually change what they do with it? The answer they found was almost insulting. Across all that research, financial education explained about 0.1% of the difference in how people actually handled their money. Not 10%. 0.1%, statistically close to nothing. And the small effect that did exist mostly evaporated over time. Take a class today, check back in 20 months, and the behavior change is usually gone, even after programs that ran for dozens of hours. Now, to be fair, that's not the final word. Newer research pushes back a little, finding real gains in financial knowledge and some effect on behavior, especially soon after training. But even the optimists agree on the core problem. What you learn in a classroom, disconnected from an actual decision, fades before you ever need it. You don't forget how to ride a bike. You do forget the difference between a Roth and a traditional IRA because you used it once months before you ever opened an account. So if nobody taught me isn't really the mechanism, what is? Here's the uncomfortable reframe. It's not that nobody teaches you about money. You get taught constantly, every single day. Just not by a teacher, and not for your benefit. Take your credit card statement. By law, it has to show a minimum payment, a number that exists to protect you, a floor so you never accidentally pay zero. In 2009, a psychologist named Neil Stewart studied what that number actually does to people. He found that for the roughly 1/3 of cardholders who pay something between the minimum and the full balance, the printed minimum acts like a magnet. People unconsciously pay closer to that number than they would if it weren't printed at all, a bias called anchoring. His estimate, for the people it affects, that single printed number can roughly double what they end up paying in interest before the debt is gone. Nobody sat you down and taught you to underpay your credit card. A number on a piece of paper did it for them quietly for years. Or take the checkout page that turns $900 into as low as $29 a month. Nobody taught you that big numbers feel smaller once they're split into pieces, but every buy now, pay later button on every site is built on the fact that they do. That's not an accident, and it's not some secret meeting in a boardroom either. It's just an incentive doing what incentives do. Confusion isn't a side effect of the financial system. In more than a few corners of it, confusion is the product. Once you see it everywhere, including on this channel's own topic list, honestly. The subscription you forgot about? It took 90 seconds to start and takes a phone call, a support ticket, or 3 menu screens to cancel. That asymmetry is designed. Starting is frictionless. Leaving has friction built in on purpose, because the friction is the actual product being sold to the company, not to you. The passive income video with the guy in front of a rented Lamborghini? You're watching survivorship bias with a ring light on it. For every person explaining how they made 6 figures from a course, there are thousands who bought the same course and made nothing. And they don't make videos about it because failure doesn't get clicks. The lie was never that passive income doesn't exist. The lie is the ratio. The side hustle math nobody says out loud. Drive for a rideshare app for 4 hours, net $60 after gas. That's $15 an hour before the wear on your car. It's not that side hustles are worthless. It's that almost nobody publishes the hourly rate because I made an extra $60 today sounds like a win, and I earned $15 an hour with no benefits sounds like a regular job. which is exactly what it is. And frugality, the advice everyone gives first, can genuinely backfire because it points your entire attention budget at the smallest decisions you'll ever make. You can spend 3 years cutting coupons and never once negotiate your salary, compare a mortgage rate, or notice that your car loan is quietly costing you more than the coffee habit you gave up to compensate for it. Being careful with $5 while being careless with 50,000 isn't a discipline problem. It's a targeting problem. So if knowledge doesn't stick and the environment is actively working against you, what does work? Here's the part almost nobody puts in the thumbnail. The people who are best with money often aren't the ones who know the most. They're the ones who made the good decision exactly once and then built a system so they'd never have to make it again. The clearest evidence comes from retirement accounts. For years, employees had to actively opt into a workplace retirement plan, check a box, fill out a form, and a lot of people just never got around to it. Then researchers studied what happened when companies flipped the default. Enroll everyone automatically. Let people opt out if they truly want to. The results were stark. The overwhelming majority of new hires simply stayed enrolled, most never touching the default contribution rate or investment fund the company picked for them. Nobody got smarter overnight. Nobody sat through a seminar. The only thing that changed was which behavior required effort, saving or not saving. That's the actual lesson hiding inside. Nobody teaches you how money works. Financial education asks you to be disciplined at hundreds of separate moments for years with nobody checking in. Automation asks you to be disciplined exactly once and then get out of your own way. So, why does nobody teach you how money works? Partly because the classroom was never built for it. A subject that changes with every apartment, income, and decade of your life doesn't compress into one semester. Partly because plenty of very well-funded people are teaching you something instead, just aimed at their bottom line, not yours. But mostly because the thing that actually would have helped was never a missing lecture. It was a missing default. You don't need to know more about money than you already do. You genuinely don't. You need fewer moments where money requires you to be disciplined on purpose. Automate the boring decision once, and you've outperformed 12 years of a class that was never going to save you anyway. Nobody taught you how money works. Turns out that was never really the problem. If you want the next one of these the day it drops, you know what to do. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.